It's Tuesday, May 5th, and this is now on H&N.
More businesses and organizations to reopen.
Breaking news, Governor Ige gives the green light to resume low-contact retail operations in Hawaii.
The stay-at-home order is now referred to as the safer-at-home order.
Doctors have drastically increased the coronavirus death toll. I'm Michael George with what they say could cause 60,000 more deaths.
The president takes his first major trip amid the coronavirus pandemic. I'm Natalie Brand with who he's meeting, plus why he's blocking coronavirus task force officials from testifying before House lawmakers.
The House is a setup. The House is a bunch of Trump haters.
Here at home, another cruise ship docks as the industry begins to chart a post-pandemic way forward.
There's going to be a lot of temperature checks.
Plus a Maui mother story of recovery coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for watching This Is Now. I'm Jonathan, your director-producer. Alongside Ashley here, we want to begin with these latest numbers from the Department of Health.
Health officials are reporting just 4 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the statewide total to 625. All of the new cases are on Oahu. Hawaii's death toll stands at 17, and so far, close to 90% of patients have been released from isolation. Meanwhile, the governor took a big step to reopen the local economy. A new round of businesses and activities will be allowed to reopen on Thursday with limitations, and people will be allowed to leave their homes to visit these businesses. Jonathan just spoke to H&N Managing Editor Daryl Huff about the governor's big announcement.
That's right, Ashley. The governor is taking big steps to reopen our economy. We're joined now by Daryl Huff, H&N's Managing Editor. What are the highlights of what just happened there at the press conference that we just heard from the governor just moments ago? He laid out a lot of new developments.
Well, the first of all is we're no longer under a stay-at-home order. The city and county's order still is in place, but this essentially will nullify that. He's replaced the stay-at-home order that's been in place now since middle of last month with something he called a safer-at-home order, which is basically conceded is not enforceable. You know, it's basically you no longer are required to stay at home because you've got to go visit all of these retailers that he's now opened up, and that list is quite a long list. It's easy to say what's not included.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there any surprises that you
I was surprised. What surprised me was the extent of the shopping malls. This is all shopping malls. It's not just, we were thinking that they might open up the open air shopping malls or some shopping mall equation that allows for enough social distancing, but you're talking about Ala Moana Center, right, with the narrow aisles, some enclosed areas, and so on. So, you know, that's going to be very interesting. He did say, though, that if a mall was not capable of enforcing social distance, they could shut it down. They could call the police. They intended to enforce the social distancing requirements at these malls.
And to be specific, I do have a soundbite from Governor Ige where he lists off exactly what is going to be reopening.
With Phase 1, the following businesses and activities can reopen. Non-food agriculture, including landscape, floral, and ornamental, astronomical observatories and support facilities, car washes, pet grooming services, healthcare and social assistance, including elective surgery and non-emergent services, nonprofit organizations, retail businesses and services, including apparel and electronics, shopping malls, and wholesale and warehousing operations.
Obviously, some things missing from that list. Daryl, what were some of those?
Well, there's things that he specifically listed as not included in this phase. Personal services, which like grooming and hairdressers, barbers, and so on. Makeup services, I guess, beauticians. Places of worship. He did say, though, that nonprofits can open now. He made the distinction that a place of worship can be open because it's a nonprofit, but it can't include gatherings. So for now, still no more congregations getting together in church on Sundays, although the speed at which things are moving now, it wouldn't surprise me if in another week those things are opened up. And of course, restaurants. That's the big one that is not included at this, even though I think a lot of restaurants believe they could operate safely, but we're still stuck with takeout. Even shopping mall food courts, it's still take it out and walk away with it. So you'll have people sitting at the nice chairs for grandpa eating their bento lunch from the mall.
And this all begins to unwind very soon, right?
Thursday.
12:01
Right.
a.m. Mm-hmm. And then he did give a cautious note, right? He said we might have to re-implement some of these measures.
Right, and he didn't really give a definition. He said if we have another wave, we will have to retrench again. He didn't really define that. He said that we have systems in place to identify if there's a new spike. He did say they do expect there will be more infections. Right now, we're down to very few infections.
Yeah,
very few people are getting sick. Yeah, so he did say there will be more, but they now have the healthcare resources, particularly the contact tracking and testing in place. He said they could do up to 3,000 tests a day, but at the same time, the health department's attitude is we don't really want to do mass testing. If you're sick, if you have symptoms, you think you might have it, or you think you might have had contact with somebody, you could get a test, is what he said. You can get a test if you think you need a test, if you have symptoms.
All right, Daryl Huff, our managing editor here at H&N, thanks for joining us yet again.
And keep in mind, even though these businesses are reopening, social distancing guidelines still must be followed and cloth face masks are still required. Now, the Pacific Princess cruise ship has arrived in Honolulu Harbor. Here's the view from the ship's webcam. Now, no passengers or crew members will disembark, but the ship is stopping in Honolulu only to refuel and stock up on provisions before leaving for the Philippines around 2 o'clock today. The crew says there are no health concerns or respiratory illnesses on board.
All right, speaking of that, the cruise ship industry is beginning to chart a post-pandemic way forward. You know, Carnival Cruise is already planning to resume some of its voyages to U.S. ports in August. That's shortly after the no-sail order from the CDC expires. Chris Van Cleve has a wrap-up of everything that's taking place, including some lawsuits that are in the works.
The wrongful death lawsuit was filed on behalf of 27-year-old Pujioko, a housekeeping employee from Indonesia. The suit claims he contracted COVID-19 on Royal Caribbean's Symphony of the Seas, getting sick only after passengers left the ship.
How prepared were the cruise lines for dealing with COVID-19?
It's very clear that the entire cruise industry dramatically mishandled the entirety of this outbreak, not only as it relates to passengers, but also as the crew members.
Maritime attorney Michael Winkleman represents the man's family.
I think had they taken the steps that pretty much every single person around the world was taking, I don't think he would be dead today. Had they implemented proper social distancing, quarantines, given proper masks to everybody, I think that Pujioko would still be alive today.
The roughly $53 billion cruise industry has been in dry dock since mid-March. After a number of highly publicized coronavirus outbreaks, polls show more than 1 in 5 Americans say it'll be a year or longer before they'd set foot on a cruise ship. But Carnival is hoping to restart service on 8 vessels from ports in Florida and Texas by late summer, saying it's submitted a plan to the Centers for Disease Control.
Are there people who actually want to get on a cruise ship right now?
The short answer is yes, absolutely.
Aaron Florio from Condé Nast Travelers says bookings for cruises in 2021 appear strong, but there will be changes on board.
When they first get on board, there's going to be a lot of temperature checks. People might be denied boarding if they don't have proper medical notes.
But before those ships take on passengers, Congress has some questions. The chairman of the House Transportation Committee sent this letter to Carnival demanding information about its response to coronavirus. And there's another issue. More than 100 U.S. citizens working on cruise ships that cannot come home. The CDC won't allow them to disembark until cruise lines agree to a plan to get them home and quarantined. Cruise ship performer Ryan Driscoll has been essentially stranded at sea for 60 days. His ship hasn't seen passengers since mid-March.
And bottom line, you'd like to go home.
Yeah, I'd like to go home. Yes, of course.
Royal Caribbean declined comment on the lawsuit, but says it has reached an agreement with the CDC to start bringing home its American crew members. Carnival says it will cooperate with the congressional investigation and is still working with the CDC to bring Americans like Ryan back home. The CDC says it does not have enough information yet to determine if the plans to resume cruise service are safe enough. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Alexandria, Virginia.
Back here at home, Kauai's mayor says an investigation is underway after a small plane from Maui landed at Port Allen Airport and dropped off 2 visitors.
Unfortunately, there are still folks out there who are trying to circumvent the system. This is another indication that the threat is still with us and we need to be cautious. Our goal at this time is to strictly limit and monitor incoming visitors so that we can allow our residents to live more freely and open up our local economy first.
Kawakami says the plane was not authorized to do so and did not have the proper documentation. The Hawaii National Guard and Kauai Police managed to catch the two visitors who were headed to Lehue. KPD says they were not arrested.
At least 43 states have partially reopened their economies, even as the number of confirmed cases in the U.S. continues to rise. There are currently more than 1.1 million confirmed cases, 70,000 deaths. We got Michael George in New York, and he filed this report.
Protesters took to the streets in Raleigh Tuesday to demand North Carolina get back to business amid the coronavirus pandemic. Phase 1 of reopening that state's economy could start as soon as Friday. Friday is also the day some low-risk retailers in California, including this shoe store in Sacramento, can start offering pickup as California eases restrictions.
If it allows us to bring back a few more staff, that will be phenomenal.
In some restaurants in Florida, customers can enjoy dine-in service, although indoor seating is capped at 25% capacity.
Everything is being sanitized as fast as you can possibly see it.
Experts say the opening up of America has led to increased death toll projections. Less than a week ago, researchers from the University of Washington predicted 72,000 Americans would die by August 4th. But now they warn that number could sharply rise to 134,000 if strict measures like social distancing are eased.
This rise of mobility in the last week or 10 days is likely leading to some increased transmission.
Here in New York, where more than 200 people are dying daily, the state is shutting down the subways for the first time ever tonight and every night after this to disinfect the trains. New York City officials also issued a health alert about a rare inflammatory syndrome affecting children that may be tied to COVID-19.
Even though it's uncommon compared to the hundreds of thousands of people who have contracted this disease, is still causing us concern.
15 children have recently been hospitalized with the condition. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Remember the Wendy's ad campaign, "Where's the beef?"
Yeah.
Well, now the fast food giant is really asking that question. Check out these statistics. 1 in 5 Wendy's is out of beef as the nation faces a meat shortage sparked by the pandemic. Now, analysts say about 1,000 of the chain's 5,500 U.S. locations are not serving any hamburgers or any beef-based items at this time. Now, Wendy's is more exposed to the shortage because of its reliance on fresh beef compared to its competitors. The reason for the meat shortage is that many suppliers have temporarily shuttered factories due to employees contracting the virus.
All right, very interesting story there. All right, I want to move to Michigan now. That's where police say a security guard was shot and killed last week for enforcing the state's mandated face mask policy. CBS News' Laura Podesta looked into this story and has a look at the investigation.
A Family Dollar store in Flint, Michigan became a murder scene on Friday. Police believe a security guard, 43-year-old Calvin Munnerlin, was fatally shot in the head after he told shopper Charmel Teague that her daughter had to wear a mask before entering the store.
The daughter did not have a mask. Charmel did have a mask, but the altercation ensued, and we believe she communicated with Larry Teague and Ramon Bishop, and they returned to the store, and the shooting occurred.
Genesee County Prosecutor David Layton says his office has authorized felony warrants against the 2 men involved. Charmel Teague is reportedly under arrest. The community is now remembering the life of Munnerlin.
When I found out what had happened to him, it really broke my heart because I know what kind of person he was.
A candlelit vigil was held Sunday, and this memorial was created yesterday outside the Family Dollar store. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
The federal April jobs report is expected to be released on Friday. Economists estimate it will show a loss of 21.3 million jobs and a national unemployment rate of 16%. Here at home, roughly a third of Hawaii's workforce is out of work, and yesterday the state unemployment office announced upgrades to its website, which is expected to double its capacity to process claims.
All right, Vice President Mike Pence made some news today. He says they're considering winding down the work of the coronavirus task force at the end of the month. And then meanwhile, the president is in a key battleground state right now, and the Senate is sort of business as usual. Natalie Brand has a look at everything that's happening out of Washington.
President Trump traveled to Phoenix, Arizona, where he'll meet with Native American tribal leaders and tour a Honeywell mask production facility. Before departing, the president defended his administration's decision to block members of his task force from testifying before multiple House committees.
The House is a setup. The House is a bunch of Trump haters. They put every Trump hater on the committee, the same old stuff.
He runs away from truth. And oversight is truth.
But Dr. Anthony Fauci, who heads up the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and other members of the coronavirus task force are scheduled to appear next week before a Republican-led Senate panel. During a Senate confirmation hearing, the president's pick to be the next director of national intelligence, Republican Congressman John Ratcliffe of Texas, was grilled by lawmakers on the origins of the coronavirus and the administration's response.
Have you seen any intelligence that the coronavirus originated in a lab in Wuhan rather than the market?
I have not.
Have you seen any intelligence that supports the Chinese Communist Party's claim that it originated in a seafood market in Wuhan?
No.
Has he accurately conveyed the severity of COVID-19 to the American people?
I believe so.
Ratcliffe vowed to investigate the origin of the virus and to be apolitical if confirmed.
I will conduct every audit and investigation with fairness and impartiality.
Another Senate panel examined the nomination of career watchdog Brian Miller to become the top inspector general responsible for overseeing the Trump administration's pandemic response and rescue funding. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
Back here at home, those triage tents outside Queens Medical Center on Punch Bowl came down after 7 weeks of screening. Hospital leaders say that the decision was made because of lower patient volumes, fewer people getting tested, and 0 positive cases over 2 weeks. Queens says elective surgeries are coming back gradually this month, but the financial toll has been deep at $40 to $45 million.
All right, the war of words is intensifying between the United States and China over the origins of the coronavirus pandemic. NBC's Keir Simmons has a look at what's taking place right now. A lot of you are talking about this online. Let's look at his report that he filed from London.
This morning, a deepening diplomatic row over the coronavirus. The Trump administration warning of a backlash inside China against the Communist Party for punishing doctors who speak out. While Chinese state television branding the U.S. Secretary of State insane and evasive, a Chinese Communist Party newspaper calling him a liar. But in an interview published overnight, Dr. Anthony Fauci says he does not believe the virus was made in a Chinese lab, not directly weighing in on the theory it may have escaped from the lab, saying the scientific evidence is very, very strongly leaning towards this could not have been artificially or deliberately manipulated. While Australia's Prime Minister asserting that the virus likely emerged from a Wuhan wet market.
What's really important is that we have a proper review, an independent review.
And the World Health Organization weighing in too, saying it has not received any evidence of the Trump administration's allegation that there may have been a leak from a lab.
We have not received any data or specific evidence from the US government relating to the purported origin of the virus. So from our perspective, this remains speculative.
Around the world, Chinese officials have been waging an aggressive pushback against allegations China concealed the coronavirus. The Chinese ambassador to the UK posting comments accusing the US of spreading propaganda.
National leaders of the United States, start this campaign of disinformation.
But one German lawmaker tells NBC News it's China that has been using coronavirus aid shipments for self-promotion and more.
They try to erase any kind of critical view of that, what's going on inside China by giving masks for free.
Meanwhile today, a new warning to the Chinese Communist Party that global anti-China sentiment is at its highest since the Tiananmen Square crackdown. It's part of a report that Reuters says it was briefed on. That report has not been reviewed by Reuters or by NBC News, but it is said to warn that this anti-China sentiment could, in time, lead to a military confrontation. Keir Simmons, NBC News, London.
Now, over the past month, the Obamas have gotten requests from all over the world to address classes who can't have their graduation in person because of the coronavirus. And the former first couple said yes. So the Obama's office says they're scheduled for multiple virtual commencement celebrations, taking to all major networks and social media on May 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Hawaii time, and then to YouTube on June 6th with some advice for new grads along with messages of inspiration. Another 2-hour commencement dedicated to historically Black colleges and universities will be live streamed on May 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Hawaii time.
All right, now to our checking in segment, and we're going to talk to someone today who's really provided a lot of inspiration throughout the pandemic and really throughout her whole life, at least her adult life. Guy Hoggy sat down or talked to Bethany Hamilton via Zoom. Let's check in with them.
Aloha!
How are things going over there in Honolulu with the 2 kids during these times of quarantine? I'm sure things are a little bit more challenging than they've been.
Yeah, no, it's all good though. We're making the most of it and still getting in the ocean, so that keeps us happy.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's been a little challenging for you too, right? Having the 2 kids now and trying to split your time out in the ocean and keep in shape and getting ready for whatever competition rises up.
Yeah, no, it's definitely full on. But thankfully, the kids just kind of tag along in whatever we got going on and try to stay organized and keep them occupied with different toys and activities and surfing. And yeah, we're definitely making it work.
So what's been the most challenging during these times, during these quarantine times? What's been the most challenging as a mother, as an athlete for you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just have a lot of compassion for people who are really struggling through this. So I'm hoping, I've just made it my goal to try to be generous and keep putting inspiring messages out there to keep people looking for hope and staying positive, because yeah, it can be really frustrating. And then when you're not looking for the good, then that can kind of eat away at you.
Yeah, and that takes us right to our next point, right? You've always been generous, you've always been inspirational, but now you've got a program that you're offering to people online and for free as well, some giveaways. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so as soon as all this COVID stuff kind of started really to become real, and my team and I realized that, wow, we have one of the raddest kind of online courses that really speaks directly to all the issues we're facing. It's called the Unstoppable Online Course with myself, and I talk about overcoming obstacles, blessing others, and just talk about gratitude and living an unstoppable life and what that looks like, and equipping people with the tools that I've learned along the way. So yeah, we've been giving away 2,500 subscriptions, and it's been amazing just to see people having their lives change and kind of taking the focus off the negatives and putting them towards the positives. So
oh boy,
it's such an honor and a blessing.
That really sounds like something people will really want to get onto. How do they do it? How do they get turned on to that?
Yeah, so you can check it out at bethanyhamilton.com. So check it out, you guys. And if not, just check out my blog and you'll find some inspiring content there. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Bethany. And aloha to you and your family. We'll hope to see you in the water real soon.
All right, thanks, Guy. Thanks, Bethany. Time for some good medicine, folks. Some positive news.
Yes, a single mother of 3 finally got to see one of her children after beating COVID-19. 48-year-old Tali Lotu Carlson of Maui spent more than a month fighting the disease at Maui Memorial Medical Center. Maui Health says she was admitted back in March. She was extremely ill was in a medically induced coma and had to be intubated on a ventilator for 2 weeks. The hospital says they nursed her back to health, and she was given a standing ovation as she was wheeled out of the hospital.
And one from us too. That is
I
amazing.
know, love these stories.
Love the recovery stories there. All right, folks, we got to get out of here today because coming up in just a few minutes right here on your Facebook Live, we're going to have a press conference with Mayor Caldwell. So we're going to end it there for now. This is Now. I'm Jonathan alongside Ashley, and we'll be back tomorrow. See you then.